Well, we're in the garage today. I just brought the 471 out of the mill yard. It snowed a bunch, so we weren't working. I said, well, I might as well bring it in and do some work to it. That's the exhaust side. It's definitely frozen solid because it's been raining too. And that's the intake side. So I'm going to put the diesel heater on blast here. And it should thaw it out pretty quick. We got to do a lot of work to this thing, actually. I want to put it on a planer in the spring. So the blower was making noise and was getting loose. And I was hoping that this blower off this 671 would be good. And it is good. It doesn't fit though. So we might have to pull the bearings out of it if the shaft size is the same. Put them in that if I can't find new ones. This was the original 671 we had on our mill. And the head gasket went bad in it. Had a bunch of diesel in the oil. We went to redo the head gasket. When I sent the head away to get planed, it had a crack in it. So I got another 671, and the crank on this must have got ovaled or something weird because it wouldn't take the new bearings we bought for it. So whatever. I stripped it. I made the other one the same as what this one was, so you had to take, well, Justin did most of it. Took this end and that end off, whatever. But there's the other half of the blower. When it was still in the case, it was grinding up against the wall for whatever reason. So that was nice. I don't know what it was. Still trying to figure that out. I gotta clean the hell out of these. And I ran out of shop towels, so maybe I'll get some more. But hey, it is what it is. I'll be back with you when this thing's defrosted here. What else do we gotta do to it, I guess? The engage, I think this thing's busted. Yeah. So we gotta redo the PTO in it. Needs a new collar. We pulled it out of service because it had a dead cylinder, so I gotta see if the rings are bad on one side or if the valves are bad. I remember we had the injectors apart messing with them, and I lost a part for one of them. So I put an old 671 injector in it, just in one cylinder, and I shouldn't have done that. So that's likely our root cause, but we'll see when we get it apart. So what we're doing here, we got the engine thawed out, and it's a few days later. We already took the PTO off the front of it, I think. No, we hadn't yet, actually. But I am cracking the head bolts loose, and I'm also working at the, there's a coolant rail there, and I think Justin was just kind of helping me out, I believe. The coolant rail just came off. It's a pain in the ass. You gotta use wrenches to get it out. You can't get a socket on it, and that's us pulling the head and checking it. Now we're working at the pistons. You can see I'm pulling them out there. There's a sleeve coming. So when you're pulling those piston sleeves, you want to put a piece of round bar in on top of the piston. And there's holes cut in the center of it. So you just kind of slide it in there, and that's how you pull it out. Quick and easy. You know, when we pulled this thing out of service, we said, oh, looks like it lost a bit of compression. I'd say so. That's not just normal wear and tear. And we somehow split a liner in half. That's pretty cool. Okay, so we got the engine apart. This is the blower side of the motor. The blower wasn't as bad as I thought it was. The bulk of the problem was that piston there that I showed you, and there was another damaged one as well. And a lot of the fire rings were, I don't know if they got hot and melted in a little bit, or if they just had a lot of carbon buildup, but I've cleaned this up a fair bit. I went at it with the wire brush. I was gonna repaint it, but I'm not that ambitious anymore. I don't care. It's a Detroit. Here's our blower. It was making a little bit of noise when it spun. It was kind of rubbing up against the case, and I played with it. And these bolts on the gears here, it seems like if they're torqued too hard, it binds it up a little bit and causes it to grind on the edge of the case a bit. The amount that's rubbing doesn't really matter. The bearings are fine, so it's good. I pulled the other one apart that I put earlier in the video. I got a bunch of pallet racking in here to build a green chain with, but that's the blower there. Anyway, there's nothing really wrong with it, so I think it was just somehow got over torqued and started making noise. It just rubs up along the inside of this here a little bit, so I'll just get the proper torques back and that should fix it. This is our parts motor. Cylinders, or the pistons, are locked up. I can't get them to move, so I got to do something about that because we have to use a couple of these pistons. So I tried the deep creep. Doesn't seem to work that great. I'm going to try ATF next, and then if that doesn't work, we're just going to get a hammer and block of wood and just beat down on the top of the pistons. Hopefully it shocks them free. I mean, there's been enough deep creep soaking in there that it should be running down the inside by now. But that's our repair for this, I guess. I'm going to get a new gasket kit. Comes with new, I hard to do this looking at the camera, but there's little gaskets for the coolant jackets. Some of them are kind of bored off center. So you see that one? Doesn't look great. So we're just going to swap them out. Save the head from doing anything stupid. I don't really want to buy another head for this. They're expensive. So we may as well do the head gasket while we're in here. It's got individual gaskets for the head like that. It's weird, but that's what it has. So that's what it's going to get. So what's left to do to this now is make a Franken motor with some new pistons. And down, this is our Rockwell PTO. And now you can just permanently engage it, but I don't really like doing that. That guy there wore out. Our grease fitting got plugged up and we kind of forgot about it. And anyway, destroyed that collar. That's what engages and disengages it. So I've got to figure out how to pull this apart. It's got little marks there because for whatever reason, these bolts like to work themselves out of the flywheel and shear. There's two pins, and we swapped the way that they went in. They must be tapered, and I haven't had that problem since, knock on wood. So I think that was all it was. It was just installed improperly at one point. It's kind of hard to see us getting the pistons out of it. We did pull the ball out. They're not difficult to get out, but you pull the liners with them. It's the easy way. So what you do is your liner sits in the block like this, right? That's your liner. And your piston comes down here past this, where it's a two-stroke. That's where your exhaust gas flies out, I think. Or that might be where the air comes in. I don't fucking know. Someone will correct me, I'm sure. So you put a piece of round bar through this guy and out the other side in the center, and you cut it so it just barely fits in there. And then you push the piston up and it pulls the sleeve with it. The pistons were kind of sticking to the crank underneath, so we'd pull the liner and then Justin would give it a tap with a block of wood and a hammer, and I'd pull the pistons out. You couldn't see it all too great in the video, but it is what it is. I think you get the point. Everything else on this isn't too bad, really. I mean, it didn't have great oil pressure, but when we pulled the oil filter, it was fucking gross. So that would be a lot of it. I guess I must have never changed it. for a while anyway. That's our head. I want to send it away to get the valve guides checked. I mean, we can check them ourselves, but I don't really have the tooling to fix it if anything goes wrong. We could always lap them or whatever, but I'm probably better off just to get it done. The exhaust ports on this are kind of, let's see if I can turn my light on here. Battery too low. Okay, that's nice. But they're, yeah, you can kind of see it there. They're just packed right full of carbon. And this would load up fuel on the exhaust, and it literally turn the exhaust into a flamethrower. So it was getting hard to start, so we pulled it apart. And we found the problem. So that's that. We're going to do some work to it, buy a few parts, get some stuff on the go, and hopefully I can get this on a planer in the spring. Yeah, I guess that's all there really is to it. They're pretty simple engines. Most of the parts can be swapped between different ones, I guess. You just they're simple. So I'll leave it there, and when I get some parts, I'll make another video of us putting it back together. A little bit more time consuming. Only took us a couple hours to strip it. But yeah, that's it. 471 teardown.